This pretty much shows us where we are today. We've got change, and technological change is happening extremely fast, and it's escalating. And no matter what we do, it's not going to slow down. Technology gives us greater capacity. It allows us to do so much more. But our laws, our rules, our social structures are not changing at the same rate that our technology is changing. And so what that's doing is effectively creating the zone within which most of society now functions is this risk zone. So how to operate in this risk zone is going to be increasingly important for us to understand.
It's been several months since we finished the Healer pilot study out in the field, and we've had a chance to take a deeper dive look at the data, and we're really excited about the results.
We had 60 youth who we tested with the AI algorithms, and then we had 60 other who we tested as a control group without the AI algorithm. We wanted to find out how many people got information about HIV. In the AI case, 70% of those youth got information. In the case of our control group, only 25% got that information. So clearly the AI algorithm led to a marked improvement. And then we looked at how many people started testing for HIV. In the case of the AI algorithm, 40% of those 70% changed their behavior to testing. In the case of the non-AI algorithm, nobody converted. So clearly there's a very significant potential for what is feasible with AI algorithms in this area.
And even more exciting than the quantitative data that we collected is the unexpected human impact that this program has had on the young people who are the actual peer leaders in the intervention.
I think specifically with this population where a lot of the experiences are kind of being invisible or being not acknowledged, to give them an opportunity where their voices can be heard.
Naturally, I'm an introvert, but being able to be part of this group, it allows you to actually reach out to people, to make it feel like, you actually have knowledge that you can give to someone.
I think he now has a language around what he wants to do. He has a language about affecting change and being a leader, which I don't even think he knew what that language was.
What's really interesting about the Healer algorithm is that it brings us unexpected people.
I know I'm a goofy person, and I know I have talents, but I'm very goofy, and it's hard for me to control my goofiness when it's time to be serious. So when they told me, I was like, all right.
When we would pick these young people and give them the opportunity to be trained to be a leader, you could see that it was really changing the self-esteem that these young people had and the sense of confidence that they could be an agent for positive change in the world.
A few of my friends told me that they look at me as a leader. So that felt good, but kind of weird.
I think it was the first time that anyone has ever told them that they have the opportunity to be a leader. Sometimes it's really just turning on that light bulb in the young person's head that they're able to do this.
The point of the intervention is to get young people to get their friends to get HIV tests and to work on HIV prevention. But the work that happened with the growth that we saw in the young people who were the peer leaders, that was the thing that I think filled all of our hearts with a sense of optimism and hope and excitement about what we're going to do next.
Now that we've successfully completed these pilot tests, we are moving on now to testing this algorithm on a massive scale with 900 youth in Los Angeles. We'll be partnering with different homeless shelters, with non-governmental organizations, and this will be the first time these AI algorithms are going to be tested in the field on such a massive scale. And so these are going to be some very exciting results, and if this succeeds, then this program could potentially be deployed nationwide. So stay tuned.
I welcome Massimiliano.
Yeah, thank you so much. And the reason for which I'm here is that we clearly see today a strong link between the society and the technology. So as you said, I'm here more because I teach at the university and I really teach people that to work in the financial systems, how to protect the company future, how to be careful in the way they use social networks. Because it's becoming a reality that today we communicate much more using social networks, not more than face-to-face to people. I always like to show this one. It's quite impressive. What happened in 1 single minute in the internet? You can see that we have millions of WhatsApp messages, thousands of new Facebook pages, and so on and so on. So if you see those numbers, it's really impressive. Every single minute. I'm not talking about 1 day or 1 month. So that means that the time, what we produce in the social network is much more than what we produce in our entire life. So Alexander Bart is a famous writer, was at the beginning of the internet, was saying that today more than individual, they receive information, we are part of a social group that exchange information. And this is what really changed. If you see the picture, today our brain mainly communicate to social network continuously and share information, and it's becoming quite chaotic. We don't have anymore a single identity, but we have multiple digital identities. Plus, today we talk so much about anonymity of distributed social network, bondness, cryptocurrency, and as you mentioned, artificial intelligence. That means our world really changed a lot, and we even didn't notice so well. You just heard what happened with the WannaCry. I don't know how many of you are aware of this, but there was a really huge attack to many institutions that caused big problems. But I just want to point out that WannaCry used a mix of Tor networks and bitcoins. Mainly, they were completely anonymous, and they were asking money in a completely anonymous way. So those social networks are also hiding identities. Not only they contain multiple identities, they hide this type of identities. Now, I'm here because there is a strong link with violence in the internet. I mean, all the people you heard about what's happening these days, with youngers that try to convince other youngers to commit suicide is happening quite often. The way they do it is using anonymity. They hide their identity. They create a digital identity and convince people to commit suicide. But who is responsible for this? So when this attack happened last weekend, Microsoft started to say the governments are responsible because when they find a vulnerability in a system, what they do, instead of make it public and ask all the companies to patch the systems, sometimes they hide those because they want to use on their own. So we are all responsible. I mean, today technology is our life. So we have to make it secure like it's a highway, or it's like a U-Bahn. When we take the U-Bahn, the same, we should make secure internet. The problem we have today is that there is a big demand of software. We create continuously new pieces of something in internet. And because there is this big demand, all the companies they attract whoever is quite good in developing software. So when you give tasks to 3 developers, not always the time, not often you have the 3 best guys in the world that are going to be a specific fantastic piece of software, but most probably they're going to create a software with some vulnerabilities. And this vulnerability is going to open holes in machines, phones, servers that can be abused by the bad guys to achieve their goals. So again, why you invite me, I'm happy to be here, is because I see this link of IT used by bad guys to achieve their goals. But who is really responsible? Is the diplomat, all of us, is the government, is an IT guy, is a CIO, is a software developer, is a law enforcer. It's really difficult to say because it's a new word. It's a new word so complicated to manage. So it's somehow nobody is responsible and everybody is responsible. Like I was saying. The problem is that we call this period cyber revolution. And in my opinion, now if you think about the revolution in the past, even the Second World War in Europe, you judge that after many years. When the world is in a peace mode, you start to analyze what happened in the past and you try to judge it. So you have to wait a few years after the revolution is finished. The cyber revolution is right now. So it's even difficult to judge and to decide what is the best to do. And plus, the problem I see is that this cyber revolution will never end probably. So the only see, and that's why I'm here together with Maurizio, because we are trying to collaborate on that, is to have a continuing adaptation to the changes to have a big collaboration between all the people I showed you on the previous slide, building trust and be proactive. There is no other way. And plus, I go back to what you said that I really find really interesting. Artificial intelligence is becoming a reality. So in Japan, they start to use robot as company director. So mainly there are people around the room they should manage the company, and also the robot. They listen to them, analyze what they say, search on internet, and tell them what is the best choice. So mainly it's a machine that takes action before the human beings in an automatic way. Now, somebody can think it's positive, could be positive, but think about, I go back to that security, somebody is able to eject the robot and start to command and say, okay, you know what, tell them this is the right thing to do when it's not true. And plus, the problem is that artificial intelligence is surely good, but we have to be careful because it learns from internet mainly. It gets billions of information from internet, but this information is made by human beings. So based on that, it does a lot of correlation, and there was a fantastic exercise that they did in the US, where they were they asked specific questions to a robot, and the robot, it was quite racist. And the reason was that the questions were translated to internet, and they were looking in Facebook, on YouTube, or in other social network, and learning from what the human beings think, the robot became racist. So it's surely a good tool, but we have to tune it properly. And the last one, because I don't want to take too much time, we are using a lot of artificial intelligence in the cybersecurity world, so we try to analyze massive amount of data. Today, you have to realize that we receive something like 40,000, every single organization, 40,000, 50,000 attacks per day. Okay, so what we do, you cannot do it manually. You cannot analyze all those data just going on in front of a PC and check. We try to use a lot of artificial intelligence, but the problem is that you see the feedback. You need a human being to do an analysis. Is a real attack, is a false positive, something I should hack upon on. But at the end, the big question that we still have, and on which we have to collaborate, especially also in your field, to whom we give the feedback. If I analyze that somebody is trying to use internet to convince a young guy to commit suicide, to whom I share this feedback. And that's where I leave this open to all of you, and especially to you, to give us an answer. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I'm not sure I'm going to give you an answer. Yeah, I think going back to that first image of the map where technology is taking us, and I think you were very well articulating this gray zone that we're in, where there are attacks. How many a day you hear?
Yeah, we are talking about 30,000, 40,000 attempts, no real attacks, otherwise we couldn't travel. We are really good. And
these are the ones we know about.
Right.
Yes.
These are the ones we know about, so that's the other important component that must be handled is fighting every day.
Yeah.
So if he comes in with bruises, you'll How can the UN, the preeminent peace and security institution that is a mature hierarchical organization, it does incredible necessary work, but it's not moving fast enough. So for example, this year's the draft resolution on cybersecurity, there is an executive working group. Their first meeting was in 2011. Their second meeting was in 2013, and their third meeting was last month. Everything is changing. So the pace of change in the tech world, I think there's a little work to be done by the UN. It's critical, but it's adapting. And so this is where I was very inspired by the work that the chief IT officer in New York is initiating something. And to better explain and inform us about that, I'd like to introduce Mauricio. Just very quickly about the United Nations Secretariat Office of Information and Communications Technology. They're responsible for ensuring that the ICT technology programs system-wide are aligned with the core work of the United Nations in the area of peace and security, human rights and international law, and development and humanitarian affairs and sustainable development. And that technology enables all of the United Nations work. The office is also responsible for ensuring effective, efficient, coherent, and accountable ICT programs, services, and resource management and decision making. So please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Karen, and thank you for inviting us here. Obviously, your book was the spark of a good connection here. It's interesting that when I see this diagram on the screen, the UN is also, despite its its cautious movements, is actually very much aware of this. And this is where it's coming particularly from the ICT network, and that's why you talk to my boss, the Chief of Information Technology Service for the Secretariat. And from our understanding of what we are fighting with on a daily basis, and Massimiliano talked about it briefly before, we obviously see that the next challenge is there. The next challenge, if you put up my presentation, is a blue helmet that is basically the symbol of the UN to prevent conflicts, that becomes a little bit more digital, because we see that the next conflicts are going to be happening not on the physical world but on the digital world. So we need to make sure that we come up with a platform, a way to address the risks that the digital world is bringing. The next slide, I think that these are just some statistics that you see all over the world, and there's probably not one correct, because again, from the moment that they issued, they're already late, they're already old. So, but if you think about 125,000 Twitter accounts shut down because they were promoting violence and terrorism, you're talking about 80% of the human trafficking victims are women and girls, and 90% of the bad stuff happens on the internet right now. So, and what we see right now, if you go to the next slide, that this has a major impact on the financial, involved in money as well. So obviously everybody's interested in money, and we are talking about billions of dollars lost in damage produced by the digital attacks and crime on the internet. The other important thing is that the yellow text over there, the developing countries are even much more prone and subject to these attacks, and the damage done for them is much more significant than what is the damage caused in a Western world, in a developed country. Also, the exponential growth of things connected to the internet. We are talking now about the teddy bears that can go through Bluetooth into the internet, through Wi-Fi, and we are talking about toasters, we're talking about fridges, and Gartner estimates that by 2020 we're going to have 20 billion of these devices connected to the internet. So our security is the last connection that we got from that particular device, and Massimiliano can tell us much more about that. We're talking about data volumes. You saw the slides before in terms of how many Twitter accounts in 1 minute, or Twitter posts in 1 minute. We're talking about 10 to the 27 bronchobytes in terms of data volumes that we're going to have on the internet. So this is huge, and we cannot control it, and we cannot not look at this and find a solution and approaches to how we are dealing with this. We go to the next slides. These are just more of the technical challenges that we are looking at, but where these things seem to be very technical. Again, today, to become a cybercrime criminal, you don't need to know all this. There's cybercrime as a service. So you pay somebody to do these kind of things for you. So the person is going to know about public key cryptography. He will know about strong encryption. He will know about how to hide himself into the dark web, and basically provide a service to you to do the crime that you want to commit. So it's becoming a service, and this is the difficult thing that we need to counter, we need to figure out how to do. So this is not, again, an area where you need to have a high level of specialization. You just pay somebody to do it. I give you just some, in the next slide, some examples. The Enterprise Application Center in Vienna that I'm heading here have been involved into writing software for use of member states directly. And this software is basically one of the big application that we've been developing is a software called Go AML. You can see on the website, you can have more information there. But basically what it does is used by the financial intelligence units in every country. We have 37 countries now operational on this software. And these financial intelligence units are mandated to pick up the transactions that are happening in the banking sector, analyze these transactions, and find patterns for money laundering. Okay? And what these countries now are telling us is that yes, with this software we can now see what's happening into the banking system, but what is happening on the dark web? What is happening with bitcoins? How can we find out what money is laundered through cryptocurrencies that are totally anonymous and untraceable? So these are the challenges that are coming through. When you close one small hole, obviously the big one opens up. So this is the challenges that we are facing. So with them, if you go to the next slides, with the Office of Information Technology, we have worked on a platform that we call it UN Digital Blue Helmets. And this is a platform that is trying to engage the UN into thinking about what is the response of the organization to these challenges. If you go to the next slide, basically the Digital Blue Helmet initiative is really designed to build a cybersecurity expert capability in the UN. So there is an inward kind of focus on trying to figure out what is happening within our organization and what are the challenges also to our people that are in the field. We have thousands and thousands of peacekeepers in the field, and we need to make sure that they are protected. And it has an outward focus, which is really providing support from a cybersecurity professional perspective to member states directly, so outside the Secretariat, and assisting member states that require this professional expertise to fix their problem, to help identify the problem, fix their problem. We go to the next slide. Yes, this is the governance, and so this is the Digital Blue Helmet has established a cybersecurity advisory board with membership from senior officials from the Department of Safety and Security, which is our internal security system, physical security division. The Counterterrorism Committee Executive Directorate in New York. Obviously, UNODC, Office on Drugs and Crime, has the mandate to work on this area, but also UNDP, UNICEF, WHO, ITU, and obviously OICT, which is the chairman, who's serving as the chairman for this group. What we are trying to do within this, governance structure is really try provide cybersecurity awareness. And that's the first key point that is very important. We have, as you know, in UNODC, a very excellent program manager for the cybercrime program. And you would be surprised when he does this our internal presentation to our staff about how easy it is to leave the phone open for anybody to steal any of the information that you want or you have on your phone, and what are the measures to reduce the risk. Obviously, you cannot resolve the problem, but you reduce the risk. Use VPN, use some kind of tools that encrypt your communication. You will see the people in the room with faces like this and say, "Oh my God, I'm totally open. I haven't thought about this. I thought that my phone is is secure. It's mine. Nobody's looking at it." So again, even the awareness is the key first starting point that this group is trying to bring up in the organization and outside the organization through the member states. We're basically trying to come up with standards and principles for big data, transfer of big data in the context of the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda, and basically build initiative and capacity in the Department Office of the United Nations to build the cybersecurity component in any projects, because this is where we are. Even if we are building a prison in Somalia, there is a cybersecurity component into that. How we're gonna keep the maps and the plans of the prison safe. So these are the kind of things that the awareness, the building awareness of this group is trying to achieve. And also the other important thing is really to try to come up with tools that can be provided to member states for day-to-day operations. You know, for example, I gave you the example of the financial intelligence system unit, system that we've been building for financial intelligence units, and basically they're using this software, which is a UN software with the blue flags on it that guarantees the code cleanness and availability. Is basically a tool that these member states are using to counter money laundering on a daily basis. We want to do the same thing for in the cybercrime world. And Massimiliano, for example, has developed open source tool, an adapted open source tool that could be used by member states to actually work on this area on a daily basis. And if we go to the next stage, the next slide, we have some active projects, and particularly with the counter-terrorism directorate, you know, on terrorism funding, basically advise on how the payments platforms are used by this group, technical advice on blockchain and Bitcoin kind of areas, and also on the civil aviation, a map of cybersecurity risks, and in threats on the infrastructures, obviously, because we are talking about not only the virtual world, but also the physical world. How we make sure that we have security and into the infrastructure components of a country, and the key infrastructure component of the country. And again, on the industrial kind of area, how we address the Internet of Things, how we put security on the teddy bear that is sold to my kid, that is connected through Bluetooth to the Wi-Fi to the Internet, and can become a weapon itself, you know, into the social world. So that was my last slide, and just to give you a brief information of what we are trying to move forward. And we're obviously cooperating with many bodies, and it's welcome to cooperate with the NGOs and the civil society to move this forward. So,
Thank you so much. And I think this is where, again, civil society can come in and play a role and become a partner, and so that even to the extent that the resources are there for NGOs to inform the private sector about this opportunity, because I think, how many of you in the room knew about the digital blue helmets before you came in here? 1. Okay, 2. Okay, not a good percentage. So, and you're here, and you're interested in and engaged with the United Nations. So civil society has very little understanding at all. So the academies and private sector really need to be aware, of what is happening and how then they can contribute, because I think this platform is going to be one of the ways that those who do have a strong social conscience and are geeks can actually contribute to these security issues, crises that do happen in different countries and things like that. And I think the main point of this is that tech can enable us to do a lot of things, and it is enabling a lot of the wrong folk, but we still have to build those partnerships, to defend what is good in society. And there's still a big lack in that area, I think, Gary. Thank you for pointing that out.
I didn't point out, I had a question.
Yes, I know. But by asking the question, you pointed out. So I want to thank everybody very much for attending this session. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you.